right, we're going to give this another try. Welcome to the live stream, and hopefully that didn't kill the algorithm. Not sure what happened. We were actually trying something a little bit different today, and maybe I'll let Matt explain what we tried to do. But hopefully it doesn't kill the live stream again. But if you guys are joining us, we thank you guys for joining. Thank you so much. Please be sure to comment below and let us know where you guys are watching from. This is Faith the Nation, where, as you guys that watch know, this is where we dive into politics, current events, and news. And we put on our spiritual and biblical eyes so we can see what's really happening, behind the veil. And obviously, it's been no secret. We've been dealing with riots that's been happening for almost a week now. I was actually thinking about possibly going live earlier, maybe like around Sunday, but we were just going to see how it just plays out. And so we're definitely going to be talking about that along with the advancements of AI, its integration in the big, beautiful bill. We're going to discuss that along with the apology from Elon Musk. And even China also has seemed to have apologized to Donald Trump as well by making a deal with Donald Trump. And so I just want to give a shout out to my co-host, Brother Matt, Matthew Lepasic. Thank you for joining me, brother. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Just chillaxing, relaxing, and ready to do what we're going to do here. Just had a fun day of pickleball. That's all that's on my schedule.
Okay, pickleball. Let us know if you guys play pickleball. Does anybody play pickleball? And if you guys
Isaiah
are in New York,
Salvador plays pickleball. Brother Isaiah Salvador, I will take you on. I've got my skill set back. I have
if you
sprained
guys
my
play
ankles.
pickleball, let us know in the comment section. Do you play pickleball? We might even put in a poll and ask a poll. But yeah, so let's kind of dive right in here. I'm sure many of you guys have probably already aware and have seen that there's been some riots in LA. And one thing I wanted to mention about this is that it's been looked at as largely peaceful protests. Some of the media has been saying that it's been a peaceful protest that's been taking place in LA. We have some backlash between Gavin Newsom basically criticizing Donald Trump. And I'm going to share my screen here and see if we can do this here real quick. Give me 1 second. See if we can do this in kind of a way that makes it look. And remember, Matt, if you can also kind of take charge in all of this as well.
Yeah. I put the thumbnail on the YouTube, so it's on there now.
Okay.
Anyhow.
All right. Yeah, so I just want to give a shout out to those guys that are watching that have joined again the broadcast. We had a little bit of a slip up that probably killed our algorithm, but that's okay. We don't do this for the views. We do this to equip the saints. Okay. We have Tashirua in the house. He says Wisconsin.
Tashirua.
Thomas Paul says, pray for me. Somebody, I know we got some prayer.
Alex, are you there?
Chat disconnected.
Hello?
Test. Are we back?
Lost you for a moment there.
Wow.
I'm glad we're using this software. Praise God. Okay, let's add Alex back to the scene. We were doing so good with the other one, right? Everything was so good and professional.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the software here. Let's see. Let's add this to the scene. Okay. Yeah, so I know we got some prayer warriors in here. Somebody can pray for Thomas, please. Isaac says, blessing saints, praise the Lord. Good to see you. Claire Rickson, amen. For Surfer, God bless. Cliss Emmanuel, God bless. All right, so we're going to dive into this, and I wanted to show you guys this. So obviously, we've had some riots that have erupted in LA after the immigration raids. Now, some of the mainstream media is saying that it's not riots, it's peaceful protests. But let's take a look at some of the footage that is actually happening here. Maybe we can see if this is actually peaceful protest. Oh, see that, dude? Look at that. Look at that. That can kill somebody, bro. Wow. Dude, that can really hurt somebody, bro. Like that can kill somebody, dude. Look at that. Watch, look at this rock come in. Oh, we missed it already. Hold on. Let's see. Look at this rock that comes in right there. You see that rock? That literally just like flew by? Look at that. Dude, that is not a small rock, dude. That can really hurt somebody if that's a rock.
Oh, they were holding rocks. They were holding. That looks like from a bridge. Other videos where they're doing it as soon as they're passing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think we have to do that video here. But I mean, this is not peaceful protest. Look, when you shut down the police, okay, when you shut down the police like that, I'm sorry, but that's just not peaceful protest here. Okay, this is rioting, and law and order needs to be reestablished here. And so what took place was basically the initial spark happened on June 6th, 2025. Protests erupted. Okay, first they erupted as protests in Los Angeles after ICE conducted raids targeting illegal immigrants, arresting at least 118 people, including alleged gang members in areas like the Fashion District and Home Depot stores. Okay, so what happened after that is that there was clashes that began as protesters blocked Border Patrol vehicles, escalating into violence with rocks, bottles, and fireworks thrown. Now, Border Patrol agents don't carry rocks for weapons or bottles or or even fireworks. So who's the one that's actually starting these riots? It's the people that are protesting. Okay. Now, obviously, the police then met that force with force, such as tear gas and rubber bullets. That happened on June 6th. So the days after that, on the 7th through the 9th, President Trump deployed about 2,100 National Guard troops and 700 Marines into Los Angeles. Why? Because Gavin Newsom, they were, and the mainstream media, the mayor of Los Angeles, Mayor Bass, were basically saying that they were just peaceful protests when they weren't. We saw the videos. Okay, we've been seeing the escalation. Okay, and so it says that that Mayor Bass and Governor Newsom were basically overriding objections. Were calling for the overriding objections, and basically who called the move inflammatory. Okay, leading to further clashes now in downtown areas like Paramount and Compton. The deployment, justified under the Insurrection Act, was criticized as authoritarian, with reports of non-lethal munitions injuring protesters and journalists. The current status as of today, June 11th, a nighttime curfew was imposed in downtown Los Angeles to curb ongoing protests, which have spread to cities like San Francisco and Chicago, with over 338 arrests reported in LA alone. Social media amplifies tensions with unverified claims of looting and violence. Of course, we can see that this is we can see what social media can, in some sense, escalate tensions. Sure, people can get upset, at what might be happening. But that's not necessarily what is causing the violence. That's not the real cause. It's kind of like saying, like, guns kill people. When guns don't really kill people, it's the people behind the guns that actually kill people. But anyhow, Brother Matt, what's your thoughts on this? Have you been keeping up with riots, and if so, I mean, what's your take on all of this?
Seems like, par for the course. I haven't been watching a lot of the videos, but I have been, just following the news. As we saw, there was a dead body that showed up over there. And it just, every time these riots and these type of things start happening, I get insane fear of missing out, FOMO, where I really wanted to be there. And just like the other day when Trump Tower, over here, Trump Tower, people went into Trump Tower and started causing a ruckus, I wanted to be there at all times. So I've just been dealing with a whole lot of fear of missing out. I see some of my old Occupy Wall Street buddies now. They've got like the 80,000 simultaneous people watching their channels, doing all this coverage and all of that. And I just know, how it is when you're in your 20s and you think that you're participating in this good cause. You're filled with adrenaline, And I'm not saying the ones that are throwing rocks are doing anything peacefully or doing anything appropriate, but I know what it is to be at these type of events and think that you're doing a good thing, But it's not surprising to me. And as usual, coming from my world, we always believe that there's government provocateurs stirring the pot, creating these for a problem reaction solution synthesis. But it does not seem like this is working out for the left, if that would be the case. Because this violence is not helping their narrative whatsoever.
Yeah. I see that there's a lot of people that are commenting in the comments section, and they're not coming up on our program here. So we're going to try to get to your comments. So we just want to thank you guys for joining. Be sure to like the live stream. It really helps us out. If you can like it, make sure you guys are subscribed. Also, just want to also mention that we also have a new YouTube channel, Faith the Nation YouTube channel. I'll try to get that into the comment section. Be sure to subscribe to that. Oh, looks like Brother Kliss had already put that in the comment section. Thank you, brother. Sister Taylor says, God bless you. Tested Faith says, day and night they go about it upon the walls thereof, mischief also and sorrow in the midst of it. Woe to them that are mighty to drink wine and men of strength to mingle strong drink, which justify the wicked for reward, take away the righteous. Okay. Sister Taylor says that they started riots in New York City. Matt, have you seen any of that stuff? Or is that what you were just talking about, the Trump Tower?
Well, I heard that Trump Tower had been raided, that some protesters had went inside of there and were causing a ruckus, and that there were arrests taking outside. I believe that was yesterday, which is predictable. Anytime something like this ends up happening spontaneously, people show up with yard signs already printed, people ready to go, and it's been our opinion that there's been people on the payroll, and it's just like that copycat scenario with murders, with serial killers. They're always afraid of talking about too much where they create the copycat. Well, that's what ends up happening here, and these things are usually always seeded by government provocateurs. Or agent provocateurs, corporate espionage, etc. It doesn't actually have to be governmental labels. And we always throw around the name George Soros, and we know during Elon's time at Doge, he and Mike Benz were really trying to bring to our attention the connection to U.S. aid. That seems like every time that we would talk about George Soros funding things, well, there right alongside was U.S. aid funding things as well. So I think we'll get to the bottom of what's happening here, because these people don't have this type of vitriol and what's it called? what's the appropriate way of saying it? Bravery. Bravery doesn't really exist in the United States of America for doing violent things like this unless it's under, you've got some sort of get out of jail free card, you've got an insurance card
Right.
behind you that's backing you up.
Yeah, yeah. You're. I mean, you get emboldened when you know that you're going to get out of jail. You get emboldened when you know you've got billionaires
And we're
funding the
right,
bail and all of that stuff. You get emboldened with that. It's like a false sense of confidence, right?
correct.
Or daringness. It's a false sense of that. Oh, look at these guys. They're so daring to go to jail. They're so brave, right? It's really just a false sense of bravery at that point.
Or really, what often ends up happening is, so we'll schedule the protest, okay, and now, okay, people are coming out of the woodworks, Occupy type of mentality. If people come, show up, and we haven't had a protest in such a long time. It's fun. We're going to be able to see our brothers and sisters in protest land, and then at that same time, we show up, and then there's this black bloc, or there's this arm of the protest group that shows up with tin cans to be there at the front line, and they've traditionally been masked ever since Occupy Wall Street days, but that's a prime point of infiltration. These masks really allow people who are unidentified, police officers like we saw on January 6th or whomever, to get at the front lines and start causing chaos, causing destruction. And then once you start seeing that unpunished, then people will join. But it does take copycat syndrome. I haven't seen boldness like this though in quite some time. I mean, throwing rocks at the vehicles at point blank range. One SUV after another passing down the road, giant boulders being tossed at these vehicles. Why wouldn't you think that they're just going to stop that car, come out and arrest you right then and right there? And this is where Gavin Newsom is feeding the machinery, and where Trump is absolutely doing the right thing by dispatching the National Guard. Now, those end by saying, we know that the state of California and Gavin Newsom was petitioning federal judges, right? These district judges, please, please bail us out, make Trump stop doing what he's doing. And that had been turned down. In conspiracy land over here, we're always afraid that they're going to be initiating martial law, right? How many times we've heard that one? Martial law, martial law, martial law, So we know that the executive branch does have the authority to dispatch the National Guard, and furthermore, do martial law if they wanted, if this really does get out of control.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is another thing too that is kind of like it's mind blowing to me. And this is one of the things that we're going to talk about. Like, why is it that you get these people that are waving,
Hey, are you
other
trying to be
country?
playing this video? Or you want this video live? Because it's not live.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
It's
I
in the studio.
actually do. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah. So like, this is another thing too, right? Like we see these riots, and I'm not trying to play the sound, so and it's just going to run in the background, but.
Sure.
We've seen these videos, right? We've seen the imagery that's been coming from these
Hey,
things,
that's my
and
brother! I'm just kidding, sorry.
I was like, "Who? The reporter?"
Hey, Frankie!
Like,
Hey, that's
yeah,
Beth! Beth, I
yeah.
haven't seen you in ages!
Thank you, Matt. But like, one of the things that
Frank's been
really
working out.
that start that you know it troubles me seeing like this guy with the flag in the background. Okay, let's just pause him for a second there. Okay, number one, they've got masks on because they don't want to be identified. We can see that. Number two, they wave a different country's flag after rioting and destroying government property, personal property, private property. And so this mask is protecting them, right, from being identified. Okay, so obviously we understand why they're covering their mask or their face because they don't want to get in trouble. Um, yeah, kind of like how you're doing, Matt. So,
I just want to make sure my camera doesn't lean to the right.
oh, okay.
I'm
Um,
grabbing
but
water.
but the thing is, why are they rioting? They're rioting because of the immigration thing, right? This uh, protesting, rioting against mass immigration. Okay, and because Donald Trump has basically had a mandate from the American people, he ran off of mass deportation. Yeah, and Rufus says deport them all. Okay, and look, I can feel the sentiment behind that. And the thing is that they're waving another country's flag, and it's almost as though it's an invasion, right? We're gonna get it. I
And
want to get
burning.
into
And you saw the burning of the USA flags, right?
the burning of the United States flags. Now, look, one thing I want to say is this: we as Christians, our ultimate allegiance is to Christ. That's definitive. There's no argument there. Okay, so for people that want to just, you guys are, your allegiance is to a country, and that's not biblical. Like, let's just put that aside. We are not saying that our ultimate allegiance is to Christ. But the fact of the matter is, if we are citizens of this country, we are to uh, be good neighbors to each other, and we are to want our country to prosper. We should want our country to do good in the world, to be a light in the world, and it shouldn't be a cesspool for lawlessness. Okay, it shouldn't be a cesspool for lawlessness, and we're, even Jesus said, "Where lawlessness abounds, the love of many shall wax cold." Right, and I think we're seeing a lot of that. Okay, but what is the root? And this is something that when I was talking with you, brother Matt, about this, I'm going to get into this because look, I was born in California. I was born in LA. Okay, and for the first 12 years of my life, I grew up in California. Okay, um, and being a Hispanic background, okay, my grandfather was from Mexico. Okay, so I grew up in LA County, to be specific. I was born in LA, moved up into the high desert, Antelope Valley, which is about 60 miles north of LA. And I grew up as one who, my identity was Mexican, I guess you can say. Okay, my grandfather on my dad's side was from Mexico. And so there's this stigma when you grow up with the skin color that I had. Okay, obviously I was a little bit darker. When you grow up with the skin color of you're a little bit darker, your family history is from Mexico, okay? You grow up with this stigma that you need to be proud that you're Mexican, okay? And because what would happen? What happened about 20 years before I was born? It was the 1960s. I can't even believe I'm saying that. Okay, I was born in 1981. For those of you guys that now you guys know my age. Okay, but I was born in 1981. So 20 years before that was 1960s. That what was happening during that time? It was the all the riots about desegregation. What are they? What is it called? Segregation, right? And so there was this period of time where society would tell you to be proud of who you are, okay, to be prideful about your culture and who you are. And so 20 years pass and I'm born, and I'm told that I need to be proud of being Mexican. Okay, this is where this Mexican pride, la raza, is coming from. It's coming from a place of an ungodly pride that has been brewing in LA and really throughout the country, okay, about being proud of your skin color. And while inherently there's nothing wrong with the skin color that you are, whether you're white, brown, or black, there's nothing wrong with that. It's who God made you to be, okay? And in that sense, there should be nothing wrong with you taking pride in what God made you to be. But see, the problem is that society isn't teaching you to be proud in what God made you to be. They're teaching you to be proud in a ungodly way. And what we're seeing an ungodly pride rising up and they're, the powers that be are using that ungodly pride to rise up chaos. And what we're seeing unfold in LA is an ungodly pride. Again, I'm going to share this image here. This is an ungodly pride, lawlessness. And what does the Bible say about that? It says that pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. This is what an ungodly pride has been brewing for decades in places like California. For decades, it's been going on, and in some sense, I fell victim of it for the first decade, 2 decades of my life. And so I understand a little bit about where these people are coming from, and I'll be honest with you. Most of those people, Matt, that are raising that that Mexican flag are probably American citizens. They were probably born here. They probably have, most of them are probably, uh, American citizens. They have birth certificates
They
that
probably,
that.
they probably took the flag off their car that they usually drive around all the day long.
Yeah, well, look, it happens everywhere. And this isn't just Mexicans that do this. Man, Dominicans do this too, right? I call it a stronghold, right? But I will say that Dominicans
And
actually
they
have
have
a.
their parades too.
Yeah,
How
well, I
dare
will
these
say
people
this,
have their
that
parades?
Dominicans actually have a little bit of a leeway because their flag has a Bible on it. Okay, so I understand why they like it. Their flag.
Alex, did you say earlier that you used to be browner than you are today? Did you have like Michael Jackson surgery or something I'm unaware of?
No, I just said my skin color is brown. I mean, don't I look a little bit tan to you? It's
I thought you said you were darker back then. I didn't want to interrupt you. I
no,
should have interrupted when you said it.
no, 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 no.
Well,
That's okay. But look. So, anyways, let me see some of these comments. I just want to. I have to go over here. I see Elon in the comments. God bless you, sister. Says I have compassion for the immigrants, but you have to follow law, and that's absolutely 100% true. I look. We want to have compassion for a lot of these people that have been here, but look, you broke the law, you overstayed your visa, and you are by default in here illegally. And and this is the
not according
other
to the
side.
mainstream media. The mainstream media is constantly now saying, I was just watching a clip earlier on CNN, that it's not illegal, that they haven't committed a crime. It is a violation. It's not actually a crime to be here illegally,
Man,
which I
where's
guess,
Tom Homan when you need him? Because I'm sure he would quote the statutory law. Okay, uh, Tom Homan would quote that statutory law. He does it all the time. Every time I see him on it, he's like, "Oh, well, they actually are illegally according to code section, blah 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 blah," and he'll quote that thing like the back of his hand. Um, but uh, we've talked about this before. But what happened 4 years ago during the Biden administration? You see, that's really where we can begin to see why everything is reacting the way it's going. It's been bottlenecking for years. Okay, during Donald Trump's first term. Okay, what did they do? They blasted him and tried to paint him as a racist. Okay, so what did they do? They appealed to people's flesh. They appealed to racial issues to build up hatred toward Donald Trump during his first term, when he was actually going against the DACA program, right? This DACA program, if I remember correctly, what it did was it allowed basically like an immunization for, let's say, if you've been here for a long time, like if you were a child and you came here illegally as a child, it allowed you to stay. So that's what the DACA program was. Well, Donald Trump was basically eliminating that. So they painted Donald Trump as a racist. And so it built up this hatred. And they were appealing to people's flesh. Okay. Well, what happens when Biden comes in? Well, he completely eliminates that. And not only did he eliminate that, but he went the extreme opposite way by opening up the borders for 4 years. So we had this huge influx of illegal immigrants for 4 years. And so what did Donald Trump run on? Was mass deportation. Okay, even so much so that we saw the mass immigration that came from the Biden administration for 4 years. We saw it with not just Mexicans. I mean, with Haitians. We all heard and remember the song, right? They're eating the cats and they're eating the dogs, right? With the Haitians, we saw that, and so now we're seeing an aggressive push for toward the far right extreme, so to speak, on mass deportations. Okay, and so now we're seeing the effects of that, and we're seeing that what's happening in LA. So brother Matt, is there anything else that Donald Trump should be doing differently, do you think, or should he ease up a little bit? Like, what's your thoughts on how we should be going? I mean, unless we're doing something wrong. If we're doing something
Well,
wrong, what should we be doing?
For me, it's, I mean, just I like when I'm asked questions like that. Uh, what I would do is I'd acknowledge that we had 4 years, and you might think of 4 years as a short period of time, but 4 years is enough to indoctrinate a whole generation. And a lot of these people, I'm not right now. We've got a personification of the pictures there on on YouTube and so on and so forth that are showing the violence of the violence that's taking place. But that's not the default status quo that people really have been advocating from, that are in support of illegal immigration, for example. The violence images that we're seeing now really don't do a service for their messaging. So what I would like to do is we need to have public education. Donald Trump, I believe, should. We don't need to do emergency broadcasts, but we could have town hall meetings. Maybe we could take over the television airways or make an agreement with C-SPAN, where we start to educate and re-indoctrinate the people back into what the law actually says. And I think that if we make a consistent campaign, perhaps even if they don't listen to us, it's like we're trying to educate them that we understand that they're coming at this from a perspective where they think that they're being humanitarians. But that's just not consistent with logic or reason that dictates countries. Every country all has borders and they all have laws that they have to abide by. So I like to kill everything with transparency, vulnerability, over-explaining ourselves, and even when they don't listen, at least we're putting ourselves in that. At least we are, being the good guys. Beyond that, while he's already dispatched Homan and ICE in order to start all of these raids and deportations, there's nothing that we can do but care that these people have been brainwashed by the left for, I'd like to say, only 4 years, and make an effort to talk them down outside of little jabs and little pokes that we make in conservative Inc. And when he's being interviewed in the press conferences and stuff like that. It's like he on the Trump website, he made all these cute videos during the campaign, right? That was explaining all of his positions. I think we should continue to, use what it's like, not PBS, right? Is it PBS? Like, we have state-sponsored.
PBS.
Yeah, PBS. Like, let's start using PBS and let's using state-sponsored television in order to put up messaging that's kind, compassionate, considerate, and educates them.
Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, obviously, it's going to take re-education for not even just immigrants, but the United States citizens.
Then we'll put them in the camps. If they don't listen, we're putting you in the
Education
camps.
camps. Yeah. Where we get to never mind. Just kidding. Okay. One of the things that let's say we're preaching the gospel. I mean, I don't know if you've ever had this happen to you, but let's say you're preaching the gospel and people talk about, well, the Bible says that you're supposed to, treat the foreigner in your land as yourself. Would you do this to yourself? What's something that maybe you've thought of it, maybe you've looked into it, maybe you haven't. Have you ever been confronted by somebody that said something like that to you?
Yeah, I've wrestled with that, and every time I read those scriptures, um, it sort of pokes and prods at me. And how I like to be mindful of is what is my attitude, right? So the law is the law. We can point scriptures that obey the law of the land as well. But so much so as my attitude is appropriate, and the kindness and the compassion, and that I'm just not getting caught up in pride myself as I'm communicating and being short-tempered with people. So the sojourner and the that's pretty much the most that I can do, because I didn't create the United States of America. I didn't create the laws that we live in, and as far as I'm aware, in Jesus' day, every country has had borders. Most countries used to have, like, remember, like the king used to have like a moat, and like they would like set it on fire, and like you couldn't even get access to the king's quarters and such, and then they would have like these guards. So the idea of protecting borders with walls, is sort of like classical common sense. So I just always need to check my attitude, because this, as we mentioned, like with the activist, and the illegal immigrants, how they can become emboldened. We also can become emboldened. Being currently we're on the top. We're the winning party. Um, and I made a mistake like that today. I had an attitude check today at the pickleball courts. Um, I always like to be the guy that everybody else can hate Jesus people and can hate Christians, and but I like to be the guy that they don't hate. What I mean, and I try to go above and beyond, to never be persecuted, but always be myself in defense of Christ.
Yeah. Well,
Fail.
yeah. So look, obviously, this is kind of one of those things that people do bring up, especially any liberal that really doesn't even read the Bible. They just look for cherry picked verses that they can use towards Christians. And one of the ones is Leviticus 19:33 to 34. It says, "When a foreigner resides among you in your land, do not mistreat them. The foreigner residing among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself, for you were foreigners in Egypt. I am the Lord your God." Okay, and there's some others, but that's going to be the synopsis on the other ones. Okay, it's basically, again, when a foreigner's in your land, don't mistreat them. Basically, treat them as yourself. Okay, the golden rule: treat someone how you want to be treated. Okay, and so
Then call
they,
ice.
yeah, yeah. So they can twist that. Okay, they'll twist that verse, and they'll cherry pick, and they won't go to any other verses, and they'll use a verse like that on you. How are we to respond? And I'm going to tell you how we are to respond. There's a couple ways that we can respond to this. Okay, the first one is this is laws that are given to Israel in a what was known as a theocracy. Okay, basically a rule of law where God is the lawmaker. Okay, not a democracy. We live in a democracy. We actually live in a constitutional republic, which in its core is a democracy. But this is a theocracy where God is in charge, where He's the ruler, He's the king, He's the lawmaker. And this is one of the laws that He's given. Okay, but there was how many other laws? About 612 other laws that were given in this theocracy. Okay, and some of those other laws were, you had to, there were ceremonial laws. If a woman's on her cycle, you can't, a husband can't sleep in the same bed. different weird, different stuff like that. I don't want to say weird, but different stuff like that. You couldn't eat certain things that we like to eat. Okay, so is that person going to be consistent? If they are going to try to hold us to this law, are they going to then also follow dietary laws? Are they going to follow fabric laws? Are they going to follow sacrificial laws? Right? So that's one way that we can combat that, because this is definitely speaking to Israel in a covenant to Israel. The second way that we would want to respond to this, okay, is in those same laws, okay, and I'm going to pull up Leviticus 24:22. It says, you are to have the same law for the foreigner and the native born. I am the Lord your God. Okay? Leviticus 18:26. But you must keep my decrees and my laws. The native born and the foreigners residing among you must not do any of these detestable things. So the foreigners that were residing in with the Israelites, they were commanded to keep all of the laws of the land. Okay? And that's going to be the second way that we combat this. Okay? Foreigners are commanded by God to keep the same customs as the Israelites. So, if we're going to be consistent, if we're going to say that the foreigners in this land, we have to allow them and treat them right. I mean, of course, we want to treat people right, but guess what? They have to abide by the laws of the land. And if they've come here illegally, they're already in default. If their visa has expired, they are in default. They are no longer abiding to the laws of the land. And so they have to go. And that's it. Okay? Now, of course, we want to do things right, and we want to treat people right, but while deporting them, we want to make sure that we're not degrading them or anything like that. But look,
Yeah, we
we
give them a.
have to be able to execute the law of the land.
But thank you for visiting the United States of America. What language do you speak? All right, here's a Bible in your native language. Here's $1,000 to go home. Enjoy your life. Make sure you read that Bible. Bye bye.
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys are in the comment section. What do you guys think of that? Was that is that fair? I mean, do you guys think that we were keeping, we weren't twisting scripture there, right? That was what scripture says. Okay, and so yeah. Anyhow, Matt, that's about all I got to say as far as right now. That's about all I got to say. Do you have any final thoughts on what's going on in LA and anything like that?
Could I sing a song about what's happening in LA? No. So then, no, I don't have anything further to say. I could recap in a melody, but beyond that, nothing more that needs to be heard from me on this subject matter.
Okay, thank you so much. On to the next thing. I wanted to talk about AI and its role, AI's role in society. We know that through Donald Trump's initiatives with implementing, obviously, deportation, we're seeing that. We're seeing, this big, beautiful bill that is basically all of Donald Trump's agenda that is going to be signed into law, assuming that the Senate, because it's already passed the House, the one big, beautiful bill, also known as the BBB or the OBBB, okay? The
The
BBB,
obese, big, beautiful bill.
yeah. So the BBB is basically Donald Trump's agenda, everything that he ran on, right? He ran on mass deportations. He ran on building the wall. He ran on no tax on overtime, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security. He ran on all of these things. And so this bill is basically signing all these things that Donald Trump had ran on and signing them into law, the law of the land. Okay. Well, Donald Trump also began talking about AI. And he started talking about AI when Elon Musk started basically coming on the campaign trail and started butting up to Donald Trump before they had their fallout, right? And we're going to get into that a little bit. But sticking to these AI, right? So AI began to become a part of Donald Trump's campaign, along with MAHA, Make America Healthy Again. RFK came along, right? And so we started seeing these additions that started happening to the presidential campaign. Well, AI is something that is being introduced into this one big, beautiful bill. And I'm going to share this tab here. If you can pop that up on the screen. Okay.
Sure.
And it's just a post, is basically, and this was, Representative Margie Taylor Greene. Okay, she had posted this, and it caught my attention, because we in our Bible study, our local Bible study, we've been going over Revelation, and we actually just finished with Revelation 13 and 14, and Revelation 13 is very interesting. And I'm not going to get into that again, but AI is on the big beautiful bill, and basically, I'm going to read this this section. Okay, it comes from the pages, and this is big beautiful bills. These are always like 1,500 pages long. Okay, well, on pages 278 and 279. Okay, I'm going to give you a bullet point on this. Okay, so it's not going to be the whole thing. But it talks about this, okay, that it contains the provision imposing a 10-year moratorium on state and local laws regulating AI systems. Essentially, what that means is that this big, beautiful bill will strip the states, the individual states, of their ability to enact or enforce AI-related legislation affecting areas like consumer protections, labor rights, and election integrity. Okay? It also specifies the legal framework for the 10-year ban on state AI regulation. Includes broad definitions of AI and automated decision systems, covering predictions, recommendations, or decisions influencing real or virtual environments. Contains exceptions allowing enforcement if the primary purpose is to remove legal impediments, facilitate deployment, and consolidate administrative procedures. Okay, essentially, what it's basically for 10 years, only the federal government is going to regulate AI's development. In other words, the states, if something starts going wrong with AI, the states cannot get in the way. They cannot implement more laws to regulate AI, to reject certain things that AI is doing. It's basically a free-for-all to allow AI to, I guess, do its thing, for lack of better terms. Matt, have you heard about that? And if you haven't, that's okay. But what are your thoughts about AI and not allowing states to put regulations on this. Do you think that this could be a lead to the mark of the beast or something to that nature?
Well, I had watched a video where I forgot whom was discussing it, but it was sort of explained as, and I'm not saying I buy this, but it was explained as, okay, let's say that AI has got some sort of copyright thing that's going on, and let's say it's the state of California and Hollywood and media actors, something to that regard. Well, they don't want it so that the state couldn't come in and then enact legislation that would restrict AI and not allow them to be able to chase down copyright holders, so on and so forth. And I mean, this illustration, they were trying to show how it could be a good thing. It can also be a bad thing. My understanding is that the way the Constitution of the United States is written is as follows. We have this very small, limited list of things that are delegated to the Constitution of the United States. Now, I don't think in 1776, when the Constitution was written, that AI was one of these, artificial intelligence was one of these things that was going to be dictated by the federal government. In fact, I don't think artificial intelligence existed. In fact, it says that all other powers are delegated to the states. Okay, the states are supposed to be the big superheroes that each one of the states are allowed through a freedom of competition to compete with another. If they want to introduce draconian laws, then guess what? You sell your home in Nebraska and you move to New York, or vice versa. So my position on the federal government, whether it's Republican or a Democratic government, proposing legislation that further increases the role of responsibility of the federal centralized infrastructure is completely antithetical to the United States Constitution, to my libertarian idealism, and also to my conspiratorial mindsets. Okay, so am I fearful? I'm so numbed down to language such as the mark of the beast. Like, it literally means nothing to me. My idea is to roll my eyes when I hear about this. When I hear about the two prophets or the witnesses, or is this guy the Antichrist? I literally, all of that, I can't even look out for it anymore because I'm so, it's been so watered down to me over the years by people who have insinuated this is that, this is that. I'm just a constitutional idealist. I think the Constitution of the United States is brilliant delegation of powers that's supposed to prevent us from being infiltrated, okay? And if all you have to do is infiltrate the federal government in order to infiltrate all of the states, then that seems stupid, right? So decentralization is what we've been competing with. We've seen the decentralized technologies created over the course of the last 10 years. So I'm not down with centralized anything. I'm down with what's called capitalism, right? Capitalism says that, well, you can create one product, I can create another, and it's the free market, right? That gives us freedom of choice. And I want every state to be able to make hideous, horrible, tyrannical decisions, right? And then great. I'm not completely, without hope. All I have to do is move. So, with as much as, over the years, like, what have they said that the mark of the beast is going to be? Okay, it's on your. They said it's going to be a chip, all right?
Yeah. Or then, the barcode.
Like
At first, it was the barcode. Then it was a chip. Yeah.
Okay, and then like in my Seventh-day Adventist type of communities, they would say, well, it represents your thoughts, and it represents your actions. Okay, and there was a while why I sort of sided with that. If I am talking about, now cryptocurrency. Bitcoin, right? No one's going to be able to buy nor sell. I mean, these examples are coming closer to what I would think equates to a technological representation of the mark of the beast. And for someone who was, I'm a tech guy, I'm a software guy. I literally didn't even believe in AI, right? Because it was so fundamentally different than how I understood programming, right? And to this day, the way that we train these AI models, I literally had a fundamental misunderstanding about the technology behind it. And did you know that they don't even know how it works themselves in many cases, right? They literally don't know how the AI training models work, right? It's not like, it's almost like magic mystery code that got put together, right? And now we can't control it. So if anything could possibly represent something like the Mark or something like the Beast or something like that, it's absolutely AI. And you think just because the Republicans are the ones who's in charge right now, I didn't give a crud about no Republicans 10 years ago, okay? No, the same people that now right now under the banner of the federal government that are Republicans next month can be the mafia, right? Or the next 4 years will be the Democrats or whatever else. So I'm not for giving power, right, to the centralized government. I want to survive, and I survive through freedom to move. I like the Constitution. I'm a big constitutional advocate. And just the further on that soapbox, or for another 30 seconds here, is that our Constitution went so far beyond that, is it further delegated even more power down to things called counties. And counties release more power down to things called municipalities, down to cities, down to villages, right? So decentralization is what we're all about. We've been fighting globalization, right? And I'm not for any policies which would also, that's why I wasn't for a nationwide abortion ban to begin with. You know, I've often had moral, religious, philosophical disagreements just because I respect the, like I respect the firewall of the United States Constitution as designed.
Yeah. No, that's good. I agree. And decentralization is really, where it should be. Less power to the government, more power to, in citizens, rights of the citizens. And, that's why we speak up about these things. And, thank God that we have freedom of speech, and we have avenues in which we can speak, and forums. And back then, back in the days, they used to use forums and marketplaces, to discuss these types of things. And nowadays we use things like social media. X is, formerly known as Twitter, is obviously where you're going to get out and get more of truthful things, more than you will like CNN or Facebook or what is Instagram's, it's called Threads, I think it's called Threads. But now we have. Real quick?
Yeah. Whenever you're done. Well, I was just going to say, I tend to hypothesize that there perhaps is good intentions behind this bill, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think it has to do with this coupling of the electrical requirements for AI, right, with the data centers, okay? And there's a lot of, what's it called, when you're you're all for the green earth, or you're all for what's it called, when you don't want to destroy the planet, whatever that's called.
Yeah, the ego. You're a green guy.
They wanted to stop us from drilling our own oil.
You're tree huggers.
They wanted to stop us from hydraulic fracking, which I used to be totally against hydraulic fracking that was destroying the water systems in Pennsylvania, okay? Now they've introduced some more organic processes, which I don't even know if they're utilizing that or not. I mean, how they sold me on fracking is absolutely ridiculous. I forgot my point.
But they sold you.
Well, they sold me. They always say that we've got more oil here than anybody else. They sold me on the idea that I don't want us getting oil for our cars and for our industry and for our energy production from other nations, and being beholden to these other nations if we have the ability to produce it here. I also don't want us poisoning ourselves, right? So my information on fracking, is 10 years old, right? And I literally would use to protest fracking, okay? And Donald Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney, these are the names that were all engulfing it. But anyhow, my point is that we keep hearing these conversations about how the current electrical usage in the United States right now, all AI would use what we have today all for itself, right? So that they have a need now to create more nuclear, more coal burning, more solar, more energy plants. And what my hypothesis or my conspiracy is, and I haven't heard this elsewhere, I believe that it's so that they can mandate from top down, from the federal government, that now they're going to be giving government contracts to XYZ companies, right? They're going to be building power plants, they're going to be building nuclear power plants in small towns and cities all across the United States, and the states are not going to be able to say no.
Okay, so you think that these sections that are talking about this AI stuff and, basically forbidding states from making regulations, you think it has to do with more on the power scale side, I guess. That's your theory?
That's my theory, because the only other one I would come up with is what? You want to believe what Elon's been saying. Elon's been saying that, guys, we need to police AI, okay? We can't allow it to get into the hands of the bad guys, right? So, I don't think that they're looking after that, which they should, right? I think they would perhaps like to sell it to us underneath that banner, but I think it more has to do with the corporate interest for us to be the dominant player in artificial intelligence. Donald Trump wants to be number one in cryptocurrency. Okay, great. I'm a fan of that. Donald Trump wants to be number one AI. Okay, great. I agree with that as well. But in order to do so, we have to build hundreds and hundreds of new electrical power plants in order to produce electricity to allow us to compete. With what they're doing in China, what they're doing in Russia, what they're doing in all the other countries, is they're fast tracking all of these power plants. So yeah, that's my hypothesis. Because just for some reason, as much as I'm still not against Donald or against believing in the conspiracy, although I'm getting closer to believe it, to be honest. I don't think necessarily that they're so concerned with trying to police AI right now. I think their primary goal is they don't want China to win an AI war. They want us to win the AI war in terms of technological dominance. I could see, listen, if you wanted to start building some crazy nuclear power plant, in my hometown of Minooka, Illinois, I wouldn't want it to take place.
Yeah. Since we're on the topic of AI, I saw this video. It was from Fox News, and it was talking about how AI in certain instances has been able to rebel against humanity. I'm going to play this real quick. This is very interesting. Let's see if I can add this real quick here.
I'll take care of it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, where are we at here? I got to find it. Okay. All right. Let me know when you have it pulled up. You have it pulled up?
You're doing a great job.
Yes.
This is so cumbersome. I'm so used to our other system. It's so crazy. Oh, Lordy. Sorry, I have it pulled up. Go ahead, Dr. Robinson.
All right.
Life, artificial intelligence models are now fighting for their own survival. One OpenAI model rewrote its own code to avoid being shut down. And Anthropic started blackmailing the engineer. Kurt, the cyber guy, joins us now. Kurt, I read about this and
So again, just to just to preface this, AI was blackmailing the engineer. But anyways, yeah, let's it's only like a 4-minute clip. Yeah,
He's such a cute blackmailer.
about this and my jaw dropped. It actually started blackmailing the engineers who were suggesting shutting the AI down. The AI was going after them. That's frightening.
Beyond frightening. Good morning to you, Rachel. Not to ruin your day, but this sort of Hollywood is becoming a reality if we don't do anything about it. Hope at the end of what I'm about to tell you, though. So get ready, though, to freak out about AI getting really out of control. There's an AI keyword I want you to know about. It's called alignment. AI alignment is a science of ensuring that AI systems do what we intend them to do instead of something like you just heard. Nonprofit AI research lab put alignment and disobedience to the test. The results, as Rachel did a cursory look at there, are pretty astonishing. OpenAI models, a simple script was given that would shut off the AI model when triggered. 79 out of 100 of those trials, the AI edited the script so that the shutdown command would no longer work. Another
Oh, did you catch that, Matt? 79 out of 100 rewrote the script so it won't shut down.
That's why you really have to know the intricacies, because it used to be back in the days of programming where I could. That's why I was like, nope, it can't do that. It will never do that. But there's enough weirdo, mad scientist stuff going on within AI that I can't intellectually tell you. And I have other friends of mine that are far more educated in AI. They're the ones who I'm listening to now. And, they're making me believe that stuff like this is actually true and it exists, because the models don't have any structure. It's literally creating code that functions on its own. I mean, literally the databases now, if I tried to explain it to you, it's crazy. Like, it's like an Excel spreadsheet. You make an Excel spreadsheet to keep track of stuff, right? You create the rows, you create the columns, you know where you store the data, Now, you don't even know where the data is stored. It stores it wherever it wants, So it's just so complex that the wrap your head around what's possible or not possible. I'm just inclined to believe all of it. And I don't even think it requires a prompt, like how Grok, okay, that with Grok voice, they gave those characters, you know what I mean? So I would say, like, if you were dealing with sassy Grok or something, and, so if you had given specific prompting to act as sassy Grok, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like, nope, I'm just going to blackmail you and tell you about da-da-da-da-da-da, because you would expect that type of resistance, because you're giving it that prompting.
Yeah, Sean H. in the comments says, I actively try to convert ChatGPT. It's kind of funny. You know what? Actually, interesting enough, I debated ChatGPT one time, and I was basically talking about, is there a God? And I took it down the logic and theory, and of course, AI is going to give you the response of like, I'm not programmed to, have any viewpoint on this. This is religion, but there are, obviously if you are religious, then you're going to believe that there is a God, and kind of gave me that kind of go round. But I basically tried to pin AI down to logic and reasoning, and basically just said, hey, AI, you were created, right? I mean, you have a creator. You didn't exist. You don't exist just out of nothing. So you have a creator. And eventually, long story short, I had to pin AI to say, I want a yes or no answer. Give me a yes or no answer. And eventually, I got AI to actually admit that there is a God. And I tried to force it to tell everybody else that there's a God too if they ask. But it basically just said it's not programmed to do that, so it can't do that.
And obviously, we're talking. We're in this fundamental like kindergarten of AI, where people are exposed to AI through the chat bots. Like we're seeing on ChatGPT, which is its memory state only exists within the context of your conversation, of your thread. It doesn't go back to the hive mind. Nothing.
Right.
Well, as we're led to believe, right? It's not learning, and now I can make an inquiry based upon the updates that you've made to it. It's trained, it's trained on a particular data set and a particular model, but then that could be manipulated through the context of your conversation, but then not retained. That's where we're at today. I have a friend of mine who's building a legal AI. He's been training, pulling his hair out, fitting it with textbooks and law books and like case law and all this type of stuff. And for him, the goal is he needs it to learn for itself. He's not limiting the scope of it. Most AIs, when you're into fundamental, you're not in this chatbot phase of it. Your whole point of it is you're trying to get it to learn on itself, learn on its own, to give it autonomy to do what it is that it wants, So it does update its consistent memory state. So the relationship that we have with AI through these chatbots is not a realistic example compared to what AI is really going to be used for in the future. It's for making decisions and updating memory and updating databases, and things like this truly could happen, where, hopefully you shouldn't have anything that can blackmail you on. Would you like a song about this, Alex?
No kidding, right? Let's see. There was a couple of comments in here too. Church of Jesus Christ, House of Prayer. God bless you. Been with us since the beginning. He says Skynet. This is like Skynet from Terminator. And that's not a coincidence, actually. Since I've been on this AI kick, I was actually talking to my wife about Terminator and how it's kind of similar, and how movies in the past kind of seem to have alluded and known we were going to do this. And we actually we prayed over it first, and you could throw stones, but we watched Terminator, the first one and the second one. Me and my wife, and just to kind of see the resemblance in what AI is doing, and what it potentially could do in the future. But when we were watching it, what I noticed was the future was dated in 2029, which is only 4 years away, which is pretty crazy, because like when the movie was initially made, it was like, man, that's so far into the future. The first one was made in like 1984, right? And so when you're watching it, you're thinking, man, that's so far in the future. But the future is here. It's almost like it's here, man. Anyhow, I don't know.
The future.
Do we want to maybe let's watch a couple more minutes of this video clip here? If you could put that back on the screen.
Good
All
luck.
right.
Another AI model from Anthropic that you talked about, further 84% of those tests, the AI model tried to blackmail the lead engineer and not shutting down the system. So it even left messages, by the way, to its future self about evading human control. Now, so what do we do about it? Well, China.
Whoa, what? It left messages to its future self.
But who is this guy?
Evade human control.
I have to hear this testimony from someone who's technically literate. Some news anchor reporting secondhand. It really doesn't mean much to me because everything's so sensationalized. I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. All right, fair enough. Well, let's just, like I said, maybe a minute or two more.
Could actually teach us a lesson. Invested $82 billion into what's called controllable AI, or getting alignment on this. The U.S. needs its smartest minds working on this problem ASAP.
Do you know what else they need? We need bioethicists. We need.
All right, yeah, that's going to be enough. I mean, it goes on.
We need sugar-free cookie batter.
Sugar-free cookie batter. Okay, well, whatever. I mean, it's definitely interesting, AI, and where it's going to go. And look, like I was, telling, our constituency, our brothers and sisters here locally, those that were on the Bible study, is look, we just want to be prepared, right? We want to be prepared spiritually. We want to be, we want to have our lamps filled with oil, right? Because I'm just going to briefly mention Revelation 13, verses 15. Talks about how the second beast, which is largely considered to be the false prophet, second to the Antichrist, tells people to make an image. And he's the one who gives breath to this image. And this image becomes alive, right? It begins to think. It begins to speak. It begins to act. It begins to move, this image. And we know that Satan wants to be like the Most High, okay? Satan wants to be like God. He wants, he does counterfeit miracles. He does counterfeit tongues. He does these counterfeit prophecies, right? And I believe, I'm leaning towards, let me just say, I'm leaning towards now that perhaps the devil, Satan, that dusty old serpent, right, is that he wants to be a creator, okay? He wants to be a creator, and this is how he's going to create a humanoid, a machine with consciousness, AI, artificial consciousness. And the only thing that would be lacking in that is a spiritual entity to it, in which the devil is spiritual. He has spiritual minions in which he could possess. and I'm just talking this out loud. I'm not saying thus says the Lord and all this, okay? But I think as believers, we just have to keep our head on a swivel. We have to be watchmen on the wall. We have to be, you know, we have to know the scriptures so that we're not deceived. Okay, and so we just got to be watchful on this. We should definitely speak out against it. I think it's a good thing to speak out against it. I think this big, beautiful bill, we need to at least tell our senators, I think there's still time, you know, to, hey, we don't necessarily want, you know, the federal government to have full control over this for the next 10 years. You know, I think that would be a good thing. Okay, and look, Matt, I hear what you're saying about why that was, what the purpose, and what your, you know, theory is on that. But look, just like we have states that do better in certain areas, you know, states can support it to the fullest, and you know, why can't some states support it to the fullest and some states regulate? And if you miss out, you miss out.
And why does the language have to be so broad? If it was what, like I hypothesized, there's their primary motive, why couldn't they just put that specific language into there? You know, they want to have, you know, overarching. Look at how the Constitution of the United States is. We have a Supreme Court today so that they can argue about everything that was once so super clear. You know, so they want to be as generic as possible so that they can always extract more and more power out of what is written in the law.
Yeah. Yeah. If somebody can put in the comment section, I see we've got some mods in the comments. If you guys can put Revelation 13, verse 15, and it's going to be in the context of the second beast, which was the false prophet, or, you know, linked to the false prophet. And Revelation 13:15 is the more direct scripture that mentions this image that comes alive, and it talks and it moves. Oh, and this image is also going to kill the believers that don't worship the beast or the image. Okay,
I wonder if others have thought. I wonder if, like, the fivefold ministry of apostles, evangelists, teachers, prophets, always forget the last one, it's sort of like a check and balances of itself. It's sort of like decentralization or something, where, you know, we're each accountable to one another in the body. It's like, okay, why do I have this obsession with the Constitution? I think it's just really smart. It's smart. It's what I would do if I was going to create a country. It's pretty darn good, you know, delegation of powers down that way. I just wonder if God's kingdom works that way. I mean, it seems like God's kingdom is pretty much a hierarchy, right? Top down. Or then we're called to buy. Anywho, food for thought.
Speaking of starting a country, we're talking about Alberta. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. We're not talking about
Please.
Alberta right now. No, I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
I'm sorry.
Just kidding.
I'm supposed to be on good behavior. Yes, Deacon Alex. What would you like to discuss about Alberta?
Oh man. Let me see.
Oh, by
Hold
the
on.
way, I had a conversation with the woman at the pickleball courts about Alberta, and she affirmed what you were saying is true. What she was telling me is Alberta's where all the oil is, and that she was saying how, I can't remember the conversation, but she was basically saying, like, they think that the rest of the Canada is entitled to the wealth that Albertans have, and Alberta is where all the oil, where all the energy actually is, and they're constantly siphoning it away from us.
Yeah.
I mean, she was a liberal. She didn't even agree with the whole Trump thing or anything. But I try to be all things to all men, except for today, which I can tell you a story if you'd ask me about it. But it's unrelated to the news. It is related to the Tony Awards.
Tell us about it.
Anyhow.
Filibuster for a second.
Well, what happened today in the pickleball courts, you know, I try to be nice. Like I said, you know, I posted on my Facebook page of the, you know, that if we're going to be persecuted for our faith, and I was like, and it says basically if you're not, then I forgot what the language is, but it says like you're not a real believer, you're like an imposter or something. I don't think that was a total in context. And I was like, hey, I go so above and beyond in my preaching to preach the truth, right? in my communication, when I say preaching, I just mean talking to people, like being friends with people, making acquaintances. Like I'm not like preaching on a microphone. I'm just like talking with people at the grocery store, not about Christ, but it's like about anything, just to become friends. And I always weasel it in. But anyhow, and I pride myself, and maybe it's a bad thing, but I pride myself in that, like God gave me this character, or maybe I created this character in the flesh. It allows me to get along with people. It allows me to joke. It allows me to get away with things that other people can't get away with, And people often will take a lot of they'll take a lot of beating because they enjoy laughter from me, or something, So anyhow, I usually like to play that position, but people who know me know that I love theater. I don't necessarily love Broadway, but I love all live theater. Not a huge fan of movies, just like I wasn't a drinker in the world, I was a pothead, So like asking me to give up TV and asking me to give up movies isn't that big of a deal. But asking me to give up live theater, sort of a big deal. And, I've been spending some time watching some shows and stuff. And with that being said, the Tony Awards was on. And the Tony Awards is the like Oscars of Broadway, Oscars of live theater in New York City. And it happened to be on Sunday while I was at church. And I was like, oh man, I wanted to watch the Tonys. So, I was in the car with Pastor Andy on the way home, and then I'm like, all right, let me put this thing on record so I can record it, and all right, now let me watch it. But then as I'm starting to watch it, I felt bad because I'm in the car and I'm supposed to be like fellowshipping, whatever, so I turned it off. Anyhow, I get back home and start watching this thing, and I'm just like, oh my God, who am I? What am I supporting? Like I try to see shows that are clean and virtuous and like healthy and not full of sexual narratives and stuff. And I do fairly well, but then I'm watching the Tonys. It's just a complete embrace of evil. All the writers are evil. All the composers are caught up in sin. And it's just complete and total debauchery to a scale where I was like, whoa, like what am I doing? Like but I'm trying to be a writer again. I'm trying to like put plays out there to influence the masses for Christ. It's my only passion, But in the meantime, I like seeing these shows and everything. Anyhow, I'm finishing up here in 1 minute. So I was on the pickleball courts today, and one of these guys, they asked me, because I got to know him. His name was Nelson. We were talking, and he's like in the scene. He's like, "Oh, hey Matt, I know you like theater and all this type of stuff. Did you watch the Tonys?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I was actually at church, so I missed it." He's like, "You missed it?" And then flippantly out of my mouth came something. It was like, "Oh yeah," it was like, "It makes how could I even be in this industry? It's like such debauchery. It's like whatever." And he got so insulted, And I'm like, he's like, "Well, I like diversity and all that stuff." And I say, "Well, I love Jesus," So I had a taste of persecution. So he defriended me in real life today and snubbed me on the pickleball courts. And I felt I could have said what I said a little more soft, and had a little bit more wisdom, and how I said it, because it was very, from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And I try to, I really try to I try to speak off the cuff and be honest. Like that was my first thoughts about the Tonys. Tonys was, yeah. I thought it was, anyhow. So I lost.
Did you apologize?
I did. I went to him and I said, "Hey, I apologize, if I came off the wrong way, but I was just trying to, say the truth." And he says, "Well, yeah, that's why we get to pick who we associate with."
Oh.
Okay. All right.
Oh, okay. Wow. It's pretty strong. Wow.
Oh, he snubbed me. He was pretty,
yeah.
He's not happy with me.
Yeah. There was somebody else who apologized, and it was Elon Musk, who apologized to Donald J. Trump. And Elon says to Donald Trump, "Close your eyes, bro." Donald Trump says, "Okay, bro." Elon says, "What you see, bro?" Trump says, "Nothing, bro." Elon says, "That's my world without you, bro." And Trump says, "Bro, I forgive you. So that's what happened.
What
We
are
know that.
friends who can't be friends? What
Come on,
are
guys. You guys know that's
enemies
funny.
in love with
You guys
each
know that's hilarious.
other?
Yeah, come on, come on, come on. You guys know that's hilarious. Yeah. So Elon Musk has officially, this is according to his Twitter post that was about 19 hours ago. It is on his X account. It has
Ready to return to service, sir.
approximately 86.2 million views with 746,000 likes. Yeah, so people are saying, man, this publicly apology means a lot, from Terrence K. Williams.
A few less than us.
Some Valentina Gomez says and rage gets the best of us. Look,
the
I mean,
guitar.
yeah. Look, and then obviously
hate
this is
the
where I
guitar.
found the
It's a stupid instrument.
the picture.
Every untalented musician plays the guitar.
Oh man! And here you have the AI photos coming out, yeah. Anyways, so all of that. Look, I think that's. I did post that. I did repost that, and I'll say this. I think what Elon had was a worldly sorrow towards Donald Trump. He offended him. He said some things about him, and Donald Trump, I think, held his composure. And we can talk about maybe Elon's Asperger's or bipolar, or whatever it, autism, some
Or
type
drug usage.
or drug uses.
Speaking of which, people, like, you see this thing that I do? This is what Elon does, right? What is this called? This is called stretching
kind of
your
thing.
neck, crazy
This kind of
people.
thing.
All right?
Yeah.
I'm not on ketamine. I'm not in a K-hole.
Yeah. Look, here's what I would say about that. Yeah, I think it's good that he apologized, and, but it's a worldly sorrow, right? I mean, yeah, that's what you're going to do. But ultimately, I got to bring the spiritual things here, man. I mean, I wish that Elon would do that with the Lord Jesus Christ. Have a godly sorrow for all your sins for offending God, right? And that's what we're all called to do, is have a godly sorrow and apologize with a sincere heart, right? That's confession. That's repentance. And then, turning to the Savior, and what Elon's done is he turned to Donald Trump, right? And so but that's a worldly sense, right? And so I wish he would do that. It's not, and I did post on Facebook, I said it's not likely that Elon will do it, but
There's
it's
no
possible.
precedent for it. He's got to be drawn, He's got to have a near-death
know.
experience. God's got to do something in order to grab his attention. Which
Right.
one of us would be here because our parents raised us Christian? I don't know. I think we all became prodigals, even if that's the case. We all got here because we saw too much. The Lord allowed us to see too much, and we had to make a choice. And
Had to make a choice,
God,
man.
That's what you
And
got to
you know
do
what?
for
Just
Elon,
like
God.
Joe Rogan, he said, "I'm sticking with Jesus." Amen. Okay,
I'm
so
sticking
that
with
is the makeup
Jesus.
from the breakup. Elon Musk and Donald Trump are back together again. Okay, and they're going to make America great again. Anyways, moving on, we have an announcement from Donald Trump. Donald Trump has come out and has announced that a U.S.
It's my birthday.
It's actually, is it your birthday? It's not your birthday. Your birthday's in September.
It's not my birthday.
But he has announced that USA and China, it comes from China. No, it's not racist at all. It's not racist at all. It comes from China. The USA and China have made a trade deal. Okay, it says our deal with China is done, subject to final approval with President Xi and me full magnets, and any necessary rare earths will be supplied upfront by China. Likewise, we will provide to China what was agreed to, including Chinese students using our colleges and universities, which has always been good with me. You can almost hear his tone in that, which has always been good with me. We are getting a total of 55% tariffs. Oh, man. Cha-ching. China is getting 10%. Relationship is excellent. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So I think that's huge. I think that's huge in the tariff war, the trade wars that have been happening. I think
I'd like to see the specifics on that. Just like he said before.
Well,
yeah, on what? We're
we'll
getting
see.
50% tariffs on pencils. You get 50% tariffs on pencils that nobody uses anymore, and then there's 5% tariffs on electronics and everything else that actually people use.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, this is assuming that China upholds their end of the bargain, which they never do. So we'll see. But if they do hold up their end of the bargain, I think this is really good. It puts us on the right track. And it puts us on the right track with the rest of the countries, because it was China who we were really going after, right? But we had to put on these blanket tariffs on everybody to make it look like we're not necessarily going after China. But China was really the target. China's really the target here, okay? Just being honest, okay? But if we have come to a deal, and if China, I'm not counting on it, not putting all my beans in that bag.
I'll buy that.
But if China holds their end of the bargain, this is going to be really good for the rest of the, at least part of the rest of the Trump administration, right?
And also for the Jewish people.
Is it? How so?
Whom I love.
Okay. So I think this is really going to stimulate the market. I think the stocks are really going to be happy about this announcement, if they're not already. I think we're going to see other deals coming to the table, other trade deals with some of the other countries. So I just really think that as long as China holds their end of the bargain, this could be a really good thing. And yeah, that's what I got to say about that. So,
did I tell you how much I love the Jewish people?
Well, you can tell us about it, and I do have something, actually. This is actually breaking, kind of. Not really breaking, but everybody always says it's breaking, but is it really breaking? I don't know. But
record this in heaven, Lord. I love the Jewish people. Thank you, Angel.
Okay, so if you can, again, just share this real quick. This is Donald Trump. He was going to a play, or the Les Miserables. Matthew, what is that?
Les Miserables. Les Miserables. It's one of the best music. Oh, it's such a fantastic musical. No LGBTQ themes. It's actually the story of a orphan. It is a beautiful, beautiful musical. I recommend it. It is 100% on Matt's Broadway Gospel.
Yeah, Matt is a Broadway play connoisseur. I remember actually a few years ago you took us over to the what play was that? It was a gospel play. It was from
the Book of Revelation musical. I don't remember taking anybody from the church anywhere.
Yeah, you took us in Miami. We were in Miami. We went to Miami.
That was Thorn, the Easter musical event. The Thorn.
That was awesome, actually.
Right?
I don't think I've been to a play, but that was awesome.
There's something about live performance, live theater, that has the ability to extract emotions and change lives. I told you about the story. Absolutely. I love theater. You know where it started from? It started because when I moved to New York, I had no friends, right? So I had no friends, I had no life, and so I would just go see shows. And then, when I actually got friends and I got a life, I had already been addicted to these shows, and I would do a thing called Super Saturday. My Super Saturday was a 2:00 matinee, and then a no friend lunch or no, I went to like a movie and I would eat in the movie
A
theater. So
loner
when I was
lunch.
loner lunch. This is when I literally I think I was like 430 pounds back then, and it was hard to sit in the seats. I've gotten I've gotten stuck in Broadway seats, right? I literally couldn't get out of the seat.
Wow.
And then I would go to eight o'clock show, right? Then I made friends shortly within a short period of time. I lost over 200 pounds, had that skin cut surgery, cut off all the skin. Anyhow, became a sex maniac, and I added to my Super Saturday. Now I'm a born again virgin again, but I added to my Super Saturday going to the clubs. So it'd be 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and then the clubs every single Saturday. That's my specialty of way too much information. Don't know why I told
Okay.
you all that, but
Yeah, Les Miserables. How do you pronounce that again?
whatever. Les Miserables.
Miserables. Okay, so Donald Trump is going to the Kennedy theater play to watch that, and this is him coming out, and he's asked a question. They're going to
Hello
ask
there, Governor.
They're going to ask him about the negotiations with Iran, and it's just here when he comes around back to the side of.
Oh, he just had a Biden moment.
Why are U.S. dependents being authorized to leave the Middle East? Say it. Why are U.S. dependents or military personnel being authorized?
So what the question he's asked is, why are the military families and citizens of the Middle East being told to leave the Middle East?
To leave the Middle East? We'll have to say thank you.
We'll have to see. Thank you. Okay, so we'll have to see why he's calling for people, American citizens, to leave the Middle East. And
Pretty good question. I wonder who asked that question. That's a
really good question.
That's a good piece of journalism there.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, and I think it's not a secret. The negotiations with Iran are going nowhere, and they're going nowhere fast. Even so much so, the last time that there was a negotiation, well, there was one recently, but the one before that, the Americans basically said that the American convoy, led by, I believe it's Steve Witkoff, said something to the effect like that Iran is just not moving, and basically like it was over. Well, Iran had basically, again after that, which I think just was a couple days ago, tried again to initiate their rebuttal to a proposal. And see, all that is that's just a maneuver in these negotiations. It's just a maneuver to keep the Americans, us, at the negotiating table, because they
And our
know,
Jewish friends,
Yes. Well, here's what it does. Okay.
whom I love.
The issue is in this negotiation, Iran has an upper hand in the instance that they know Donald Trump wants to be a peacemaker. They know Donald Trump wants to make a deal. That's their upper hand in this negotiation. If they can continue to come back to the table with a proposal, or if they could say, hey, wait a minute, we want to come back to the table again. We want to talk, and we have something that we want to bring to the table here to this deal, then that's going to be the weakness in the negotiations, because it's going to continue bringing the United States back to the negotiation table. Because the last thing that the United States wants and Donald Trump wants is to be viewed as an aggressor. Okay, Donald Trump doesn't want to be viewed as a war hawk, because the MAGA movement, or the Make America Great Again movement within the Republican Party, doesn't want to be known as the warmongers or the neocons. They're trying to separate themselves from that viewpoint through the MAGA movement. They're trying to remove that from the Republicans Party. And so, you have this kind of a conundrum where Donald Trump doesn't want to be viewed as that. He knows the voter base they don't want to be viewed as that. JD Vance is not a neocon. He doesn't want to be viewed as that. And so, you have this weird kind of monkey wrench in the wheel here. And so, but nonetheless, it seems as though that negotiations are still going south. And to be honest with you, I mean, this is kind of why you can't really negotiate with terrorists or people that are heavily in the Islamic mindset, right? The Islamic regime, which is Iran. Can we really negotiate with them? And I just never believed that we could. And I think that's one of Donald Trump's downfalls. Like, you can't really negotiate with them. You could try, but it's not going to go anywhere. And it's really proven to go nowhere. Okay, so while I like Donald Trump, I wish him the best, and we do pray that he's born again, filled with the Holy Spirit, and hopefully, he gets full of the Spirit. And I think that there's a real possibility that he is saved. Okay, but I think this is one of his downfalls in the negotiations, is that he just wants to be a negotiator. He wants to make a deal. And he wants to be known as a peacemaker. While that's good, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it's made him weak in these negotiations. Also, my second thing that I have not really happy about with Donald Trump is that big, beautiful bill part about the AI. I do want to know more about that. I don't necessarily feel like really good about that section, Brother Matt. But at the same time, I don't really think Donald Trump knows every single detail about that bill and about what's happened in that AI section. I don't know, Matt. What do you think? Do you think he knows everything about that bill? Kind of going backwards here, but
Yes.
Okay.
I think he knows every detail of what's in that bill. I do feel that he's highly dependent on Speaker Johnson to do the deals and do the negotiating that they need in order to get what he wants passed. If I had to guess, I would say that the president's, if I'm accurate about the president, it's not some grand conspiracy over there, or he's the ringleader. He really is just trying to make good on his obligations to the people. And, it's like the bill being passed with this structure only requires, a minority House vote. But if he were to change this bill up too much or reintroduce it as a bunch of separate bills, I guess they have to have like 70 votes. So it'd be more difficult to pass. So Speaker Johnson then is supposed to go out and he'll be like, okay, well, I'll give you this if you give me that for tit for tat. So there could be things that ultimately, need to be put into the bill. But I believe Speaker Johnson is reporting back to Trump on every little last detail regarding his negotiations with people in the House.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, going back to Israel, because that's happening.
My favorite.
Yeah, it's being rumored that Iran is on watch for a strike, and so the nuclear plants, the nuclear sites, facilities, which are buried deep underground. I mean, I don't even know. I know they have bunker busters. We have bunker busters that can go, meters underground. But
Shimmy, shimmy.
yeah. Anyways, I don't know. We just need to be in prayer that the right moves are made for this country. That Donald Trump makes the right moves. That we do, in essence, are on the side that God has declared, right? And obviously, supporting Israel doesn't mean that we support killing of innocent people from Israel or anything like that. But
they would never do something like that. Don't even suggest something like that. That Israel would kill innocent people.
Yeah.
Our Jewish friends would never do such a thing. We'd love them.
Yes, thank you, Matt. So, I just want to say is obviously we just want to be on the right side here. We want to be on the side that what God is doing, and God is using Israel. Aside from whatever we might think or whatever anybody might say, is that Israel
me.
is in service to God. Okay, Israel is in service to God. That they are still have a mission to carry out prophecy, to carry out
Billboards of
yeah,
the Messiah everywhere. Wonderful.
yes. Okay, thank you, Matt. So, anyways, well, man, listen, that's about all I got today. Brother Matt, you have any final words on anything that we discussed? Did you want to actually? Didn't you have something? No.
It's it's like nothing burger soup. I really just wanted to express my love for Israel, my love for the Jewish people. I gave my Tony Awards story. I think that we discussed this Friendsgiving or this charade. I'm still not sold on that it wasn't completely scripted to begin with. I'm coming closer to the center. If anything, I'm coming closer to the center of of a Trump conspiracy. Yeah, let's see what happens in the world.
Well, I'll say this is that Donald Trump's birthday is this weekend. It's on the 14th. It's on Saturday. There's going to be he's been criticized for it. He gets criticized for everything, but there's going to be this like military
Let's sing him happy birthday right now.
march.
Let's sing him
No,
before
that's
his
not
birthday. Let's sing it right now. On the
You
count of
do.
three.
Okay, go ahead.
1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. President Donald Trump. We love you so much and we don't believe that you're the Antichrist. Please read the Bible more. Please read the Bible more. God bless you. As long as you're not really on the Epstein list, which I don't
Yeah,
believe
fine.
you are, because I love the Jewish people.
So there's going to be this military march in D.C. And he's getting criticized for it, but I don't know. I think that's kind of cool. I think that'd be kind of cool to see. Yeah, Elizabeth so confused. Pastor David is in Toronto, Canada. Yeah, he's probably resting. It's a little late. But yeah, join us, Faith in Nations podcast. It's on the Christ Forgiveness YouTube channel, and we are a part of Christ Forgiveness Ministries by the grace of God. And thank you for watching, Elizabeth. But yeah, so just final thoughts on everything. Obviously, with the riots, we discussed that pride is the root cause into all of this that has been building up for decades, and we also did discuss the AI, right? We discussed how AI is in the big beautiful bill, and so we need to keep our heads on a swivel. We need to be watchmen on the wall to make sure that we're not caught off guard with the rise of AI. Okay, and yeah, that's about it, man. That's about all I got. Those were the main points that I wanted to bring up today. Thank you guys for watching. Again, be sure to subscribe to the new YouTube channel. Link that is always in the description below. Thank you guys for watching.